What if war erupted in the Pacific before sunrise? As dawn breaks, a shadow sweeps over the Sea of Japan. Hundreds of fighter jets roar into the sky, shattering the calm. Tokyo claims this is just a drill. But satellite images reveal a different truth. Nearly 300 warplanes rush toward the Russian border. Within hours, Moscow is on alert. Emergency meetings erupt in the Kremlin. Both nations scramble. Bases ready, fleets mobilize, air defense systems scan. News flashes across every screen, and social media ignites with fear and rumors. In coastal cities, people scan the sky, unsure if the next sound brings safety or ruin. Right now, the line between peace and the largest war since the mid-20th century could snap with a single mistake, a nervous pilot or a misunderstood order. The world freezes, perched on the edge. How did we reach this point? Let's unravel the tangled roots of rivalry, ambition, and technology that brought us here. To grasp this crisis, rewind the clock. The seeds were sown long before engines screamed. Tension grows quietly, in the shadows of daily life. Far to the north, Hokkaido air bases stir with urgency. Under darkness, fighter wings and transports line up. Soldiers move in formation, engines whisper, every unit tense for orders that could change history. Across the Sea of Okhotsk, Russian cities brace. Sirens pierce the early fog, echoing through silent streets. Citizens watch columns of armored vehicles grind past, their homes rattling. Fighter jets scream overhead, a warning no one can ignore. In government halls, diplomats search for compromise but find only deadlock. Talks between Tokyo and Moscow break down. Accusations fly, trust collapses under the weight of threats and brinkmanship. Online, fury surges. Russian forums overflow with anti-Japanese rage. At border towns, families load cars, children clutching toys, fleeing from a looming battlefield. This is the old pattern. Small sparks, ignored, ignite infernos. Refusing to heed warnings risks repeating history's darkest hours. With every hour, the standoff sharpens. The world senses the next move could tip the balance toward peace or war. When talks collapse, missiles speak. Across the Pacific, both militaries surge. Troops flood outposts, convoys wind through mountains, air patrols draw tense boundaries overhead. Each move, called defense, only deepens suspicion and fear. Japanese recon ships, laden with sensors, slip into disputed waters. Suddenly, a Russian submarine surfaces, a silent warning. Tension spikes. Then, a distant explosion echoes across the waves. News spreads. The first clash has erupted. Emergency negotiations at the United Nations unravel. Diplomats storm out, trading accusations of sabotage. The last threads of diplomacy snap in front of the world. Above the conflict zone, jets twist and dive. Dogfights erupt, missile trails scar the sky. Cameras capture burning wreckage plunging into the sea. Shadow war has become open conflict. Night brings escalation. Russian hypersonic missiles streak toward Japanese positions on northern islands, explosions lighting the horizon. Japanese batteries fire back, striking Russian command posts and supply lines. The exchange marks a terrifying turn. Civilians scramble for shelter. Subway stations and basements become havens. Humanitarian corridors close as aid convoys stall under gunfire. Markets convulse. Oil and gold spike. Stock indices crash. Every strike endangers more lives, intensifies chaos, and edges the world closer to catastrophe. Trust dissolves, leaving only suspicion and the growing shadow of total war. World leaders rush to respond. Alliances are tested, old rivalries reignite. The fate of millions hangs in the balance. When giants collide, tremors ripple globally. The United States sends aircraft carriers to back Japan. Russia puts its nuclear arsenal on highest alert. Warships gather in the Pacific. Satellites spot missile launches as disaster looms. In Tokyo, sirens wail. Families rush underground, clutching children and radios. Far north, Kamchatka towns shudder under sudden attack, the night sky slashed with fire. Panic spreads worldwide. Global markets freeze, trading halts, oil and gold prices leap. In capitals from Berlin to New Delhi, leaders hold emergency meetings, desperate to prevent disaster. On television, officials warn, a single mistake could end civilization as we know it. Yet amid chaos, hope flickers. China and India, alarmed by the spiraling crisis, push for peace and urge dialogue. Exhausted, Russian and Japanese diplomats finally meet, their tense talks interrupted by distant thunder of artillery and jets. For millions, the cost is devastating. Lives uprooted, homes lost, futures shattered. Still, as talks stretch through the night, the world waits. The risk remains colossal. One wrong move could unleash ruin, but so long as negotiation continues, hope survives. But the shadow of war lingers. Every decision is weighted with dread. No one can predict what dawn will bring. War leaves scars that outlast shattered buildings. A fragile ceasefire settles over the Pacific, but the silence is uneasy. Memories of chaos still haunt the air, and peace feels fragile. Both Russia and Japan emerge fundamentally changed, trust shattered, cities forever marked by loss. Millions are uprooted. Communities straddle new borders, divided by pain. Families grieve, and the world sees how quickly stability can vanish when fear takes hold. This conflict was not only about tanks or missiles. Waves of rumor, propaganda, and digital storms spread faster than jets. Rash decisions and paranoia drove both nations, and the globe, to the very brink. Leaders everywhere now face a hard truth. Peace must be guarded. It demands vigilance, honesty, and daily effort. The world is reminded, neglect these lessons, and disaster may return. As witnesses, what role do we play in a world this unstable? History does not end with treaties. It is shaped by memory and by what we choose to do when the dust settles. If peace is rare, what will you do differently tomorrow? In an era when calm can shatter without warning, each of us is more connected and more responsible than ever. We have just witnessed how fear, confusion, and digital information can drive nations to the edge. Missed signals, twisted stories, and old rivalries supercharged by technology show that modern conflict is as much about perception as firepower. As the world teeters, only an informed, vigilant public can slow the runaway train of crisis. Awareness, skepticism, and a willingness to question may be the final barriers between escalation and understanding. How will you seek and share information? Will you challenge the stories that shape our world? What we choose to believe, amplify, or reject can tip the balance toward peace or push us closer to disaster. Remember, history is shaped not just by leaders, but every day by millions of ordinary choices.